Welcome to our Insurance, Investments, and All About Town podcast. Our podcast is dedicated to empowering listeners with knowledge they need to navigate home and auto insurance, healthcare insurance, and make smart investment decisions and stay informed about local happenings. We provide insights and practical advice, helping you preserve your financial future while staying connected to your community. Tune in as we break down complex topics into actionable steps for a better, more informed life. Well, welcome to episode 6
Here we are.
Of our Insurance, Investments, and All About Town podcast. I'm Eric Sporing with ECS Capital Investments. To my right, my partner in crime, my podcast partner in crime, Tara Lavelle with Vaughn Fire Insurance, and our very special guest today, Rebecca Swank with Job One.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here.
Great. Yes. Thanks for coming. So I learned something new today.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you know me. You know me, right?
I do know you, yes.
So I was watching a podcast this morning, and this is a pod. They call this a pod. Welcome to our pod.
Oh, like the room in which you...
Yes.
Oh.
This is our pod.
Okay.
So I learned that today.
I like it.
Yeah. So episode 6.
Yep.
So, I always ask the question.
I know. How many views?
How many views have we had on our last episode?
Okay, so here is my most educated guess. We had Mayor Chris Levisay on.
Right.
I feel like that might have drawn a bigger crowd than usual.
Okay.
I also think our record was 72.
Yeah, we're up to 77.
On the first one?
On the first one, yeah. 77.
Oh, I'm afraid to be disappointed if I go higher. Okay, 81.
81.
Yeah.
A little
that's
high.
not it.
A little high.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's actually a lot high.
It is? Okay, well, let us know. What's the number?
34.
Okay.
I guess I said a lot high, but we're not. Yeah, but 34 was our. And I think it's only been out. Still, it's only been out a couple weeks.
Yep.
So we've had 34 views in a couple weeks. So we'll take that. So.
Guess who one of those views is not?
That was not. Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's my husband.
Oh, your husband. We still haven't got Brian to watch one?
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
Maybe today.
Today might be the day, Rebecca. You might be the secret sauce. You're what will get him to watch.
Are you guys going on a trip or anything here shortly?
No, we just got back.
Just pop that baby in and make
there we
it
go.
listen.
Be like, here we are.
Yeah.
You're stuck with me in the car for the next hour and 45 minutes. So would you like to listen to this?
Yeah, and so it's always her dad watched the very first one and was very critical of Tara. So I always now ask the question, has your dad watched the last one?
I don't even know. I'll have to ask him. Yeah, the first time he was like, babe, it was great, but you really struggled to find the camera. So I was like, and the truth is, I still have no idea where to look. Like, no clue. So I probably still struggle. But that's all right.
That's the green dot, right?
That is what David Mann told us. But
you're right.
I struggled to even find the green dot. So
we learned, it only took us 6 episodes to figure that out. So.
Getting better every month.
So. Well, today I think, Terry, you were going to talk a little bit about mental health parity and substance abuse resources through your health insurance.
Yep.
So if you wanted to just kind of, hey, let's kick it off and tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I guess first we should probably define mental health parity. Mental health parity is the treatment of mental health conditions and substance use disorders in insurance plans. So it comes about in 2008. There's a really long name for it. The Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act.
Okay. It's a mouthful.
Right. 2008. It wasn't until 2013, however, that it was really put in force and plans started to change.
Really? So not that long ago then. Really.
Correct. Yes. No, not that long ago. Right. So right before the Healthcare Reform Act. One thing that I think we are realizing as a community and as employers or whomever is that when we look at the health of our employees or the health of our spouse, our friends, whomever, health is more than health insurance. So we're really talking about whole health. And where there was a large discrepancy really was in mental health care when compared to physical health care. So the Mental Health Parity Act really states that substance use disorder and mental health services have to be equal to your physical health services. So if you have, we'll say, a $25 copay to see a physician, your copay should match that to go see a mental health provider.
Okay.
If your, we'll say your your health plan has a $3,000 deductible and pays 80% once you reach that with hospitalization included, should you opt to go into a substance use disorder facility, you'd pay your deductible and it would cover at 80%. So there's been a real focus on making mental health and substance use disorder care available. Let's see. Which plans follow federal parity? So almost all group plans. So anyone, for sure, 51 employees and over, those groups have to follow, or those plans have to follow mental health parity. Small employers also find that those plans usually have mental health parity as well. There are some old grandfathered plans that maybe are exempt from that. Your marketplace plans, so if you're an individual, you're looking at a marketplace plan through healthcare.gov, those all require mental health parity. And then any state children's health insurance programs for, I think, Missouri, I think ours is called CHIP. So the CHIP program here in Missouri also has to have equal treatment of what we would call, I guess, regular health benefits and the mental health benefits. Services that are covered in the health or in the Mental Health Parity Act would be inpatient and outpatient services, both in and out of network, intensive outpatient services, so that would be like a program if you are suffering from a substance use disorder and choose to go into an inpatient program for an extended amount of time. Partial hospitalization, residential treatment, that's again need to be in a safe location for treatment. Emergency care, prescriptions, so that's another one. Copays, deductibles, and max out-of-pockets.
Really?
Yep. So, what I would encourage you to do is just look at your health plan. Most likely, it covers those services.
Okay.
But I don't know that a lot of people talk about that or really even know that that's available. So there are other options too. So there are employer benefit plans that offer EAPs. That's an employee assistance program that actually goes above and beyond mental health parity. So some of those might offer, we'll say, 10 free visits to a mental health provider. Some offer legal counsel. There's all sorts of things you can find in an EAP, which is an employee assistance program, that go above and beyond what you'll find in mental health parity. But you should be able to look on your ID card and pay that same copay if you decide you want to see. Now you're going to be subject to stay in network, just like you would a regular physician, because there are certainly networks for mental health providers as well. But that's it in a nutshell. I picked a kind of short topic today.
That's fine. She usually hogs all the time.
I do. I usually take it all
I
up.
never get any time to talk. We have to cut you down too because she does all that. No. So I do have a question.
Sure.
So when you're talking about the mental health part of it, is that, because I know like in the insurance world, there's always little add-ons to every, life insurance. Hey, we can put a child care rider on there, return a premium type thing. So is the health care, I think, mental health, is that included in all policies, or is that something that you have to add to it?
No. So. It is because of the MH Act of 2008. It really is mandated to be included.
So all health insurance policies then, or health care?
Most. Yeah. There's always going to be a couple of exceptions to the rule.
Oh.
Like I said, some of those grandfathered plans.
Grandfathered plans, yeah.
I'm curious on Medicare versus Medicare Advantage, if those have to or if they just voluntarily do so.
Okay.
Medicaid cost share plans, those are subject to mental health parity, but just specifically the cost share plan. So in most cases, you are going to find, yes, that it is covered.
Okay. And I think, more and more, and I know Becca, or I call you Becca, Rebecca, that that kind of falls in what you'll maybe talk a little bit about today, but not necessarily like that.
Yeah.
But you deal with stuff like this. So when it comes to this, it covers. I meant mental, right, and substance abuse. I mean, all that stuff is part of it. And I think that's something that we see more of now is the mental. I know with COVID, we've seen a lot of, stay at home and things like that. We've seen more of that. So this is actually, you said, hey, something boring, but I think it's something really that is top of mind. I mean, you're seeing a little bit more of this being diagnosed.
Well, I just think there are a lot of assumptions that maybe mental health isn't accessible when it really has become more and more accessible. So I think there's a little bit of a falsehood out there in saying, probably not covered by my plan. Well, I'm going to tell you it probably is covered by your plan. Flip your card over, call whoever's on the back and start asking questions because in most cases you're going to find that really is a covered benefit.
Okay. Man, that's good. It's good information. Like I said, you may think it was boring, but I honestly feel like it's a lot more prevalent than what you probably.
I just think it's great information to share, just in case maybe you didn't know.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, good. Thanks for that information. So it's great.
Oh, I can take off my reading
You
glasses.
can take off your reading glasses, right? There you go. So they're probably going to look and go, who is that over there?
Like,
They've never had those glasses
new girl.
before, right? So, well, today I was going to talk a little bit about the cost of healthcare. A lot of people don't think about this. When it comes to retirement, healthcare is really something that you need to think about.
For sure.
I know you're going to say, yeah, for sure. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about Social Security today. I'm not trying to scare people, but the Social Security Administration has come out and said that, hey, they're going to be bankrupt in 2035. And so I'll touch on that a little bit too today. But Fidelity Investments, everybody who knows who Fidelity is, Fidelity Investments for the last 20-some years, since 2002, I had to look at my notes here, they've done a study every year on what it's going to cost a healthy 65-year-old in retirement for medical insurance. And they do it every year, has since 2002. So they did their study for 2024, and they're saying that $165,000 is what it's going to cost a healthy 65-year-old person today to retire. And they're still going to have medical bills. I mean, Medicare doesn't pay everything. You're still going to have prescriptions and co-pays and things of that nature. And so when I talk to clients, it is something that we talk about is I have a program that, we build that into your portfolio because, it's something a lot of people don't talk about is, the cost of, Medicare or not Medicare, but, medical expenses when it comes to retirement. And so those payments have got to come somewhere so they're coming out of your retirement. And, I know we've talked about HSAs, on this podcast before too, and I'm a big, proponent of, HSAs. If you have one at work, you should, definitely be looking to put money into them because, it's a vehicle you can use down the road when it comes to retirement. I was looking here, Fidelity, their estimate is up 5% over 2023. So, and they've seen that number double since they've started this in 2002. So, and we've talked about, medical being expensive.
Yes.
But, that's something that I really, work with clients on is saying, hey, look, we got to look into this future down the road. Is your portfolio able going to, that $165,000 has got to come from somewhere. Is it going to come from your portfolio or, where are we going to pull that money from? So, it's something to think about. A lot of people don't think about that. I don't think a lot of advisors out there, educate their clients on that type of thing of preparing for health care. So the other thing that I want to talk about is Social Security, and Social Security Administration has come out and said, look, by 2035 we are going to be bankrupt. We are going to be out of funds. And I know bankruptcy, so that sounds scary, right? But our kids, right, are still going to, your kids too, they're still paying into Social Security, even so. There's still money going into Social Security. I'm still paying. We're all still paying into Social Security, but they're saying that it will be bankrupt, they'll be paying out more than what they're bringing in. And a big part of that is, number one, is baby boomers, right? I mean, baby
They're
boomers.
going to take it all.
Yeah, but there is, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of baby boomers retiring every day. And, they're starting to dip into that, Social Security, well, let's say. But another reason, and I found this interesting, is another reason why we're seeing Social Security dip the way it is the average household has gone from averaging 3 children to only 2 children now. And so, obviously that, the population is slowing down. I actually had breakfast with another advisor this morning. We always have breakfast once a month, and we were talking about this same thing this morning, and he was seeing how like some of the other countries are seeing the same thing. They're seeing that decline of, the families are not having big families, I know I'm in that too, right? My parents had 2, and I have a brother, and I have 2 children. I know, Rebecca, you have 2. I think you've got.
I'm an overachiever.
You're an achiever. You got 3. The 3, right?
Overachiever. You're welcome. Social Security will thank me later.
Yeah. So these are some of the things that they're seeing a pattern. So once again, Social Security has said we're going to be bankrupt. So once again, I mentioned earlier that we're still paying into Social Security, but they're saying, hey, look, to be able to still pay out, we're probably going to have to reduce your benefit by 25%. So if you got somebody that's $1,000, easy math, right, and we're taking 25% off, you $1,000. Well, now you're only getting $750. So another thing I've been educating clients on is saying, hey, look, there's a possibility Social Security could be cut in the future. Is your portfolio ready for a 25% haircut? And so those are things that I talk to clients about. Of let's be prepared. Look, this honestly happened in 1982. The same thing happened, where they said, hey, look, the Social Security Administration says, hey, we're going to go bankrupt here. And so in 1982, the Congress fixed the problem. Right, they changed the full retirement age from 65.
Full retirement age.
It was 65. Now it's 67. We're all 3 of us in this room is 67, and that pushed that funding, slush fund, let's call it, or whatever, out a little bit to where now it's 2035. So Congress can fix this, but how are they going to fix this? So.
Well, and we live longer.
Yes.
Right? We live longer than when Social Security was
when it was established.
Right. So
the average age was 65. That was the average when you died back then, because it was 1939, 40. When did it was my mind just blank. It wasn't Truman. It was.
It's Roosevelt.
Roosevelt. Thank you. So you knew the president this time.
I did. This time. This time I had it.
Yeah. Roosevelt. Right. When he put it in, it was late 30s, early 40s when Social Security came around, and living age was like 65, 68 back then. So that's a good observation there. That's.
I don't think they expected people to be on Social Security for 20 years.
Right.
That wasn't the idea. Right. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them change that age again.
Right.
Push it back to, who knows what.
Could be.
I got to tell you, the closer I get to 65, the younger it feels. So I'm like, I'll be working at 65. Right? It's right around the corner. So.
Yeah. And of course, you can start taking Social Security at age 62, but it's a reduced benefit.
Yes.
So full retirement age is 67, and a lot of people don't realize this. At 62, you can start taking Social Security, and some people are like, well, I'm just going to keep working. But there is an income limit to. If you make too much money, then they will start taking dollars away from your Social Security. So,
but once you do hit
full retirement
age, you can work as much as you want to.
It's unlimited. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yes, that is true. And I will. When you were talking a little bit about the cost of medical care in retirement. First of all, there's a great misunderstanding about what Medicare is. And so I think everyone assumes, number one, it's free, and number two, it covers everything.
Yeah.
Neither of those are true.
No and no.
Yes, neither of those are true. So there is a need for an additional product. So whether that is a supplement plan or advantage plan, there is a need for an additional product. In addition to that, I see people retiring early.
Yeah.
Right? So then what? If you have to COBRA your benefits, or maybe you go to a marketplace plan, that's going to be an expense that they weren't expecting, either. So it can definitely get expensive.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring it up because that's a lot. I talk to my clients about that. Some are like, hey, I want to retire at 65 or 59 or 62. I'm like, okay, that's great, but at 62 we still got 3 years of no insurance. So like you said,
people are shocked by what that number is.
Yeah, because they don't see it because the job is paying a good portion of that. So you don't see it. And so but that's kind of all I had today to talk about. So
I think that's a good one.
Right?
Yeah.
I thought so.
Put the fear in all of us. Thanks,
right?
Eric.
So, but I'm not done.
We are just full of joy today.
Wait, there's more.
Wait, there's more. Karen knows there's more. She always knows there's more.
He's going to throw numbers at us here for a minute. Here we go.
Did you watch the last podcast where you were like, oh, these numbers are...
Yes.
Yeah. So you actually saw that, right?
I did see that. Yes, that was cute. That's exactly what I had envisioned.
So last month being February, what did I say about February?
Oh, gosh.
Man, it just goes in one ear and out the other?
It does, yeah. I've slept since then.
Once
no
or
clue.
twice.
Remind me.
Remember, February is the second worst.
Oh, yes.
It's the second worst month of the whole year when it comes to returns in the market.
Yep.
So, marching forward.
Oh, ba-dum-bum. So good.
Over the past 50 years, the S&P 500's average performance during March has been a gain of 1.1%. With positive returns 66% of the time.
Okay.
In terms of both the average gain and consistency of gains, March ranks as the 5th best month of the year.
Okay. All right.
Even though this month hasn't started out that way, but
it's been a rough one.
It has been a rough one, but so I thought I would throw that out there. So, but there's more.
Oh, here we go.
There's more. There's more. This Becca, I keep calling you Becca. Rebecca will, I keep getting Becca down at the chamber. I got that on my, but Rebecca probably will get this one. So, Saturday Night Live, Saturday Night Live at 50. Okay. Through its 50-year history, Saturday Night Live has had a total of 167 cast members.
Wow.
But only 10 have lasted 10 years or more. This person, the current and longest ever tenured cast member, has been on the show for 22 seasons. Name that person.
Keenan,
you got it. I knew.
I had no idea. I had no idea.
Yeah. That's why I found that interesting when I read it. So,
amazing?
Yeah, 22 years and on there, and so. But there've been a lot of great people on Saturday Night Live. So.
Did you guys watch the anniversary special? Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I did not see it. So, but I knew that was right up your. I knew you.
Right.
I knew
you knew.
I knew you would get that one. So, well, let's segue over to Rebecca here, and once again, our great friend from Job One. I would not do it any justice talking about Job One, but it is a great organization. I've learned a lot about Job One over the years with you and Jeff, and just to learn about it. But we thought it'd be great to have you on to talk about Job One and how you serve the community. So tell us a little bit about Job One and
Well, Job One has been around more than 50 years. Established in 1967.
Oh, wow.
And it was a grassroots effort by parents. And it was, if you think back to the late 60s, early 70s, across the nation, the landscape was changing. Institutions are closing, family units are staying whole, and parents realized that there was so much more that their children could be doing and providing, and saw the abilities in their children. So grassroots effort, and this is how we got we were established. Job One is the product of a merger, I don't know if you knew this, of two different organizations. It used to be Independence Blue Springs Industries and Foundation Workshop.
Nope, did not know that.
And so those two organizations, merged to become Job One.
Okay.
But they were both founded the exact same year, within months of each other.
Really?
Okay.
So there's so many great things that we have done in our history since 1967. Something that I really appreciate is, even though our mission has remained the same, and that is to build skills and connections that create employment opportunities and meaningful days for adults with disabilities. The way that we've done it has completely evolved and shifted, and we're very much aware of person choice. We want to make sure that we're listening to the people that we serve. They are our clients, and that we're kind of following what it's being led by them. A few things have shifted at Job One. So something that we're really proud of is, as of July of this past year, anybody who works at Job One is making minimum wage or higher. This is something that you probably think, well, wow, of course they're making minimum wage, but that's not been the history of organizations like Job One. So there are still organizations in the metro that are utilizing a different Department of Labor certification, but we were so happy to voluntarily sunset that certification, and it's just something that we had to work really hard to get. It took us 10 years to get to this point.
Wow.
A lot of planning and making sure that we are not going to put anyone that we support and serve in harm's way, that if they are making that wage, that they have the supports around them, so that way they can either retain their benefits that they need to continue to have agency and independence, or are they working at a job to where they have that stability within that job that they can exceed that minimum wage amount and not worry about those benefits that help them get through and maintain that life. So there's so many different ways that we get to support our mission, like I mentioned. One is through Ability One. This is a Source America product. So came through the New Deal, talking presidents. And so way back when, and so Job One gets to provide mailroom, warehouse, and janitorial support at our federal sites in the metro.
Really?
So we're at the Dole Courthouse, we're at the GSA, the FAA, the Marine Corps Technology Center. Our reserve sites, we're in all of those spaces doing this really great work. They provide not only an integrated work experience for these individuals, they also provide a platform for advocacy. So annually, we get invited out to Washington, D.C., to where people that we serve who work in these amazing jobs get to talk to our elected officials. And they do such a great job. I got to tag along a couple years ago, and it was one of my top favorite experiences at Job One. So much fun. The second way is we do have our facility in Independence, and there we have we do packaging, we do assembly for customers like the roastery. So when you go through the grocery store and you see all of the coffee bags on the shelves, all of the seasonal and specialty blends have come through Job One.
Oh, really?
With all the labeling.
Oh, cool.
So things like that. We do different kitting and assembly work. We support some of our nonprofit peers if they have, envelopes to stuff and collate. We can do all of that. But we also have our apparel business. So within the walls of Job One, we can do embroidery, screen printing, direct-to-garment printing, and it's all being operated by individuals we get to serve. And it's so much fun. So I highly recommend anyone come on down, take a tour, see it in action. It's a lot of fun, and you could do one shirt or anything. I say shirt, but anything canvas, right? Or material, fabric. So one item to thousands, right? So when my son had his birthday this past year, he was turning 8, and he wanted a shirt that just said Ocho. And so I said, I know where to go. So we were able to hook him up. So that's all taking place at our Independence location. The other thing that is taking place at our Independence location is our community-based day service. And this came out of the pandemic. You mentioned that a minute ago, the pandemic. And during that time, if you want to think back to that time, we're on that 5-year anniversary, which is just wild.
Crazy to think that was 5 years ago.
That's right. 5 years ago yesterday, I think.
That's insane.
You're right.
Yes, and so so during this time, we had plexiglass all over the place there. We're trying to be, keeping separate and safe and all those things. So we sent out over 400 surveys to people that we were currently serving and had served and their families, and said, what do you need? And unsurprisingly and overwhelmingly, the need for community connection was the repeat thing that we kept hearing over and over. So our community-based day service is our one service where employment is not the goal. The goal is community connection, because we know that the more that ones can engage, belong, and participate in their communities, barriers crumble. And so we are going to go out and explore activities that people enjoy doing. Let's keep doing those things. And it could be one-on-one. So like you and I, we're going to go out and enjoy the community. Or it could be a group of 6. And so we're like, let's go out and do this fun activity. We're going to volunteer because it's such a great thing to give back. And then we're going to try one new thing a month, because we don't know if we like something or not until we try it.
Try it, right. Yeah.
You don't know how brave you can be until you do something. And it could be to the point where somebody that we've been serving maybe has never ordered for themselves. So you're going to a restaurant, and if you think about, well, if you've never ordered for yourself, what's an employment experience going to look like for you? So we really want to make sure that we're setting people up for success. So that could be an activity that somebody does, and then the celebration is always huge whenever we do something new.
That's fun.
Whether you liked it or not, we're going to celebrate it.
Right.
And then the final component within our menu of services is our community employment. So that is where our clients come to us through Missouri Vocational Rehabilitation or Missouri Department of Mental Health, and they get matched with one of our employment specialists. And that employment specialist will get to know their clients. They spend about 10 to 12 weeks on the front end really digging in, getting to know their clients. What are their talents? What are their passions? What is their personal genius? We're going to start finding some themes. We're going to do, if the client feels good and open to it, we will do home visits. We'll get to interview who their organic supports are. We're really just going to kind of get to know who this person is, because we want to make sure when we find that perfect job for them, let's say if we find that job but it's in Kansas City and they don't have transportation to get there, then it's not a perfect job.
Right.
So we really want to make sure that we're finding out all the great things about that individual, and then we can go out and find them, help them find that right fit. We believe taking a customized employment approach. So one component of that is it's zero entry, right? So whatever skills you come to us with, we're going to find you that job. We're not going to say, you got to skill up if you want to get the job. Let's just find you something that's going to be that great fit, and then you might excel and exceed in that job, and then your supervisor might be calling us and saying, we'd really like to get them to this next level. And we're like, great, we'll come in at no cost to that supervisor or to that company, help them learn that next job.
Oh, that's great.
We've had other clients who've done such great work in their field, and they've like, I've done this for the past however many years. I'd like to try something new. We've all gone on different employment journeys, and so that's just part of that experience. So the other piece within our community employment is we have our summer work experience, and that is where high school students going into their junior or senior year of high school get the joy of a first summer job. Earning a paycheck, learning hard work, all those great things. We know that when students graduate from high school who have a disability, when they graduate with something on their resume, they're 70% more likely to be hired. And so this is such not only is it a rite of passage, right, where we have all learned from our first summer jobs, right? We learned something that we never want to do again.
Yes.
Like, I really hated that, but I learned a lot about myself in the process. Or something like, this is something I could see myself doing. And so we can continue to evolve and grow. So it's such a good experience. We have great community partners, from Colonial Gardens and Blue Springs. The Blue Springs School District is a partner, to
Sandy.
Royals, Wayside Waifs, the Kansas City Zoo. We are all over. We're up north, we're in Belton, we're throughout the all of Kansas City. So it's a really exciting time. So all of those pieces together and more make up Job One. So
I know. I kind of mentioned. I know you said the Royals and the zoo and stuff. I know just some of the local people here in Blue Springs. I think like Sandy's. I think.
They were a partner of ours for a long time. And
so that's kind of how I learned about Job One. But one thing I wanted to ask you is I think you guys have a big fundraiser coming up here shortly. Tell us a little bit about your big fundraiser.
So our fundraiser is called Casino Night, and it's spelled Night. And it is a Vegas-style event at Arrowhead Stadium. It will take place on May 2nd. And it is so much fun because we have all the fun Vegas games that you can enjoy. And we say, people are like, what do I wear? I'm like, well, whatever you're wearing to see in a casino, that's what we want.
I've seen the pictures, and it is a little bit of everything.
It could be jeans and a sweatshirt to your sparkle suit. So whatever you've got, we would just want you to come, have fun, enjoy the experience. We have a very short program, but you get to hear from people we serve, and then the rest is about having fun and learning more about our mission.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Question or anything?
So you also have a summer internship program for, is it returning college students to actually mentor? To work at the Summer Work Experience program. And so that is where we hire these students to be that liaison to the students as well as the company. So we'll say Colonial Gardens, for example. So we can go into Colonial Gardens, and that person will kind of get the report from Colonial, like today we're going to be
weeding, we're going to be watering, we're going to be checking on these things, we're going to do the other thing, and then that person kind of helps those students along. This position is perfect for not only college-age kids who are maybe going into education, social work, any of those activities, but also for students who want to maybe going into business and they're going to be managing a team. I can't think of a better way to
learn how to
manage a group of people than this experience. So it really fits a lot of different buckets, right? So you can check on that. But that is where they're learning how to do those great things. And it's great because it's 6 weeks, right? So it's 3 weeks. You get the week of Independence Day off, and then another 3 weeks to round.
Oh, that's perfect.
Summer.
To the summer,
and you're making good money. I mean, everyone's getting paid, so everyone's happy. It's at no cost to the employer. So it's so they get to. A lot of times they've used it as like a training facility. So like the zoo at the end of the season has hired so many of our students, and they say, "You guys were great. We would love to keep you on." So
that's wonderful.
It's been really exciting to see, and we've seen it not just at the zoo, but that's just what I'm thinking.
And you have a facility, I think it's in Independence, is that where it's at?
Yes.
That's where like a lot of your packaging and is that screen printing and everything?
It's all in Independence right there at like Truman and 291, more or less. We're off of Yuma. We're right over there. And that's our that's our only facility-based activity is happening there. We do have offices in North Kansas City, north of the river, and then another South Kansas City, like just north of the Ward Parkway Shopping Center. But for the most part, if you want to see our mission in action, head on down to Independence.
I heard there was a recent remodel of the kitchen area.
Yes. Oh my goodness, the remodel. So for the longest time, since the early 80s, we did not own our building. It was owned by Jackson County. So 2 years ago, we were able to acquire that building. So then we were able to start writing some grants and making the space more, soften the space and make it update and all those good things. And from a grant we received through Bank of America, the Abernathy Trust, we were able to use our friends at BV Contracting, and they redid our kitchen for us, and it is beautiful. And everyone's so excited. And so now we're waiting on a few other, grants to come in to where we can get our KitchenAid mixer and some of those other big things. But we have classes happening already.
I was wondering if you were doing like baking or cooking classes for.
Yes, and it's great because it's not only are we learning how to, food safety, nutrition, read a recipe, go all the, summer's coming, we'll be heading out to the farmer's market and like, oh great, we got way too many tomatoes, what do we do? So then we get to go to the library, get the recipe, or we can put a call out and say, does anyone have something that they want to share us? Because community happens in the kitchen, right? So it's really great activities are happening there. We have one individual who is going to teach us how to use an air fryer. He works at our packaging and assembly facility, and he is apparently a gourmet chef
on the air fryer. Okay, I can use some lessons.
I'm so excited. So he he used our apparel shop, and they embroidered him an apron, and so it's like air frying class, and we have the whole thing ready to go. So we're really excited to get that one set up and launched. So
that sounds awesome. That the kitchen, is going to open up just another avenue for job one.
Absolutely.
You got the apparel, and I know you had a shredding business at one time. I think you guys have sold that off.
We did.
But I mean, just the shredding, the embroidery, the kitchen. And
well, what's I think special about like I said, our mission we've really evolved and kind of gone with different ebbs and flows. And the thing that our leadership and our board has really supported and we've really leaned into is we're really good at supporting people with their employment. And the jobs that they can find in the community or the jobs that we already have established at our packaging and assembly facility. We don't need to learn how to not only support these people in employment and how do we run a shred business or how do we run whatever this means. Because then we're competing with our nonprofit friends and it's not a win.
Right.
And so here we get to really lean into what we're good at and that is just supporting individuals so they can have those meaningful days, have independent lives, have agency over themselves. We all want to have dignity and nobility of work and so this is what we're getting to do. And it's a lot of fun.
It's job one, like I said, what happens on job one is awesome for the community, and Kansas City, because it's not just Blue Springs community, like you said. You're in the Northland. And I'm sure, well, the library, or not the library, but the zoo and all, so
Yes.
I think it's awesome what you guys do.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Any other questions or anything you have for Rebecca?
She does such a good job. She always
I've
does such a
known-
good job of representing
Yeah.
Job 1. So.
You can't,
Well, I absolutely love it.
yeah,
I mean, you can tell.
that's I was just getting ready to say the same
You
thing.
can tell.
You can't tell she's enthusiastic about her job and Job 1. So, anything else? Any questions or anything on?
No.
Okay.
I think I've got all the Job 1 questions.
All
I mean,
right.
there's always the hot seat question.
Well, that's where I was going.
Oh,
There's
no.
always a hot
Okay,
seat question
I'm ready.
for our guests.
Yes.
So, or two. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm feeling this change in the seasons, right?
Don't you steal mine.
No.
Don't you steal mine.
Okay, pivot.
No,
pivot.
go ahead. No, go
I'm
ahead.
pivoting.
No,
Nope.
no, because it may not be. Go ahead.
Nope, I'm going to pivot and we'll see
No,
what happens.
go.
I'll ask.
See if it was the same. Go. We can argue all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to know what your favorite season is.
Oh, it is spring.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
My husband, he's definitely a fall guy. Cause
Oh, yeah.
fall leads
Oh, yeah.
to all the things. You got football, you got
Yes,
you
that
know,
makes
you're on the
sense.
verge of Christmas and
Yeah,
Thanksgiving and all
yeah,
those holidays. But
yeah.
I love spring. I love getting to wear the bright color. I mean, I don't wear bright
Flowers
colors today,
blooming.
but
I would say, I feel like you always wear bright
But
colors.
it feels like it leans into
Okay.
that a little bit more,
Yeah.
and it just seems like a good season of like renewal and hope and all those good things.
I love it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not quite what mine
Okay.
was,
Okay.
but kind of along the same avenue. Our listeners here, viewers, they don't know, but we were supposed to tape this last week, right?
yeah.
And it decided to snow on the day
Right.
that we were going
Not
to
so
tape this.
springy that
No.
day.
Right,
that's
not so springy. So, but so with that being said, so I already kind of know this answer, but if you're vacationing, I mean, are you let's go to the mountains and go skiing, or I'm a beach person. I mean,
Give me a beach.
Yeah, I knew,
sunshine.
yeah.
I want the vitamin D
Yeah, I
and
do.
Yes.
sitting out and
Yeah.
leisure, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I love the idea of going on a hike or doing
Right.
that activity, but I feel like that's more of like an adventure. It's not a vacation.
Right.
And so I feel like there's like some just,
yeah.
definition for me. I'm like, okay, if I want a vacation, we're
Relaxing,
pool and
right.
sand and
Yes.
surf and all that stuff. Yeah.
My wife would say the same thing.
Yeah.
She is a beach girl.
Well, what about you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably summer. I like
Yeah.
Yeah.
baseball kind. You were
Yes.
talking football. I like football too, but summer baseball. So I guess I'd say summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
I would have always said summer. I do. I love the sun. I love the beach. But the older I get, the less I tolerate the heat. So, I'm starting to lean in a little to like that early summer. Late
Yeah.
spring,
Yeah.
or, late summer, early fall. That 106 just does not serve me the way it used to.
Yeah.
But
Crispy.
Yeah, right.
I will say I am the outlier though in my family.
Everyone else is
yeah,
summer?
nobody else is summer.
Oh, no one else is
Nobody
summer.
else
Oh,
is
really?
Are
summer.
they all winter?
I have one that is specifically Christmas, hands down. If Elf were a real job,
Right.
that's what she would choose. Instead, we're going into primatology. I don't know how that works out, but and then everybody else is fall. They all just love everything about fall. They like the pumpkins, they like the apples, they like the leaves turning. Brian likes to hunt, so
Yeah,
hunting,
hunting,
football,
yeah,
all of that
yeah.
kind of comes around. So.
Yeah. Fall it is.
I'll just sit out there and bake in the sun. That makes me happy.
You're good with that.
Yes, yes, I am.
So.
Yeah, I know. It's next week's first day of spring, so my
Is
season
it?
is here.
You're
Yeah,
here,
there you
yeah.
go. You're ready to go.
We're ready.
Great. So, all right. Well, there's no other questions or anything. We could, wrap up our pod here, our podcast here in our new pod. People they don't realize this, but
Right.
we're shooting in our new pod today. This is our
Much
first
larger
episode.
space.
I
Yeah.
feel
Which is
honored.
nice.
Right,
to-
your first guest in our pod.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, wanted to thank Rebecca Swank
Yes, thank
with
you.
Job 1 for joining us today. Appreciate that.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Tara, once again, thanks for coming in and join us on our 6th episode.
Yeah.
And then I'm Eric Sporing with ECS Capital Investments. Until next episode, we'll see you then. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.